Get ready for episode number 14 with two of my favorite girl bosses from Kimes Ranch. Meet Amanda Kimes and Lindsay Perriton.
Let's talk about your business, strategy, and the juicy details of what actually works, from mainstream fashion to fashion on Main Street and the entire ecosystem behind it. How do we scale your company and do it with the balance and the happiness that we all seek? Let's hear from those insiders, experts, and strategists that actually make it happen. I'm your host, Ashley Alderson from the Boutique Hub, and I can't wait to chat.
Have you ever felt like all of a sudden, out of seemingly nowhere, a brand pops up and has massive popularity and brings new life to the market? You feel like you're watching this overnight success story happen and unfold before your eyes. Now, it's extremely rare to see or experience, but when you do, it's pretty hard not to buy into that excitement yourself, right? So how do these brands do it? The marketing, the manufacturing, the growth, the scale, the team. What does it take to build a brand that breaks into a competitive market and takes off like wildfire? Well, behind every seemingly overnight success story, there is a story 10 plus years in the making. What you don't always see is what happens in the business behind the scenes. You and I both know it's the late nights, the founder struggles, the products that flopped, the fears that had to be overcome in order for that business to finally take shape and find its place in the market. Now, those overnight success stories, 10 years in the making, they're the ones that actually last. You know why? Because it's the companies that understand that most times in business, it's not the first product that you take to market that hits and sticks, but instead it's the process that you go through. The process to test and evolve and to finally come up with what the market really wants most from you and then to run with it. Success is about having the tenacity to keep going even when it's hard. And that, my friends, is how you create a magnetic, electric brand that finally hits and sticks. Now, today on the podcast, I am so pumped to be joined by two girl bosses, or we should call them boutique bosses or brand bosses. Maybe we need another great word for them. Regardless, these two are a force to be reckoned with and to follow. Amanda Kimes, joining us today, and her husband Matt started Kimes Ranch and have developed this denim turned lifestyle company based on a need that they saw in the equine market. And let me tell you, that's a pretty competitive space to break into. From traveling to horse shows and selling denim out of their van to building a global company serving all equine disciplines, Kimes is definitely a household name when you walk a day in Western culture. Along with Amanda today on the show is Lindsay Perriton, the director of marketing for Kimes, and probably one of the most fashionable ladies I know, complete with sassy side-shaved head and always a statement hat or a great pair of shoes. Lindsay is actually a former model, accomplished equestrian, and hailing from Canada now makes her home in Arizona working at the Kimes headquarters with her best friend, Amanda. You may have met Amanda and Lindsay either at our NFR meetup for boutique bosses this last year in Las Vegas, or Lindsay was on our influencers panel at the 2018 Western Summit held in Denver last January. Now, these two ladies are changing winds in a male-dominated industry, so we're so excited to have them on the show today and as a brand member of the Hub. I can't wait for you guys to hear today the story of Kimes Ranch and how you can take action in your own business to build a brand that listens to the market, takes shape, and takes off like wildfire. Welcome back to the show, guys. We have two creative, inspiring, and might I add, powerhouse women in the house this week. And we're not only going to cover the story about building a business that's a true lifestyle brand, but this week we're also going to get into the technical aspect of operating a business of this scale, from marketing to balance and how it's all done in between. So Amanda, Lindsay, you guys, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
I'm so glad it worked out. This is going to be great. I just admire both of you so much and enjoy our time when we're together in person getting to catch up. So this is going to be a real treat to have you on the podcast.
Well, we're very flattered that you asked us. So thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we have a lot to cover today as we were kind of visiting before we got onto the show here. So let's start with Kimes for what it's known for today, because there's a lot of backstory to cover. You guys broke into a fiercely competitive and established market, the denim market in the equine and Western space with monster companies like Cinch and Wrangler and Panhandle, all these powerhouses. And that's not an easy feat. I can't imagine taking that on. So as the three of us have joked before, we've always kind of talked about that perceived overnight success, 5 years in the making, where no one really knows how long it's taken to get here. So let's talk about the backstory. Amanda, talk about your background and Matt's and how this whole wild idea took shape.
Oh, man. Well, we were much, much younger and very naive. And I think kind of that worked in our benefit because we didn't understand what failure meant at that time. And so we weren't afraid to really like dive into a space we absolutely knew nothing about. I like to state that right off the bat. We had no experience in fashion or in clothing or in marketing or in any of that. Matt, my husband and partner, was in the financial world. And I had a struggling wine distribution business, and I worked odd jobs. And we always had this dream, you know, if you had endless amounts of money, what would we do together? And for whatever reason, we landed on denim. And we think that that's because we showed horses and met showing horses and in that world where we rode all day, every day in denim. And I think we were unhappy with what we were wearing subconsciously. So it kind of transpired into wanting to create a denim line. I don't think we even knew what that meant, to be honest. I think we wanted to just make some jeans and be cool with it and watch it grow. But I don't really think we understood what that meant at that time. We would talk during those early days, and a brand that came to mind repeatedly was Nike, because we were very impressed with how the Nike brand, the swoosh, was so synonymous with Nike. You didn't even have to say the word. You could just see the swoosh. And that always really meant something to us as far as finding a brand. So when we started the business, we needed a brand. And prior to that, Matt and I had just purchased 2 Longhorn cattle. We were going to be cattle barons. 1 cow has died. Now we have 1. So that dream obviously did not come to fruition. Barney still resides, but we had created a brand to brand our cattle with when we were going to be rich and live in Montana and do all those things. Well, the brand was really cool. It's the brand we currently use now. And I thought, you know, that would be great on a pair of jeans. And so we liked its simplicity, and we had hoped that it would be similar in the fact that it would resonate like the Nike swoosh did, where people could just see the logo and think Kimes Ranch, or at that time, Longhorn jeans. And it worked, thank goodness. I think that was, Lindsay mentioned earlier when we were discussing before we went live that there was a lot of tenacity and some dumb luck that took place. And one of those dumb luck moves was that logo. So Matt and I quit our jobs at this point. We have no money. That was smart. We had no bank funding or anything. I think we sold a horse. So we had a little bit of, you know, startup capital of very limited means. We drove to LA, and, you know, my first jeans I was going to sew, I had this dream that I could make the first pair. I don't sew. I don't even own a sewing machine. So how that was going to work, I'm not sure, but that was my dream. So we go to LA, we buy paper and tools to make patterns and all of that. Well, obviously that was a disaster. So we have those first pair of jeans. They're in our closet hiding. We don't like to show them to the world, but someday I will. Lo and behold, we finally, after knocking on multiple doors and being told that we don't have what we need at certain buildings, we found our current existing pattern grader, pattern maker, and pattern or denim cutter. And those people have been insurmountable for us in helping us find other manufacturers in Los Angeles. So Matt and I are loyal to those people for various reasons. Obviously, they helped get our start out, and they should have laughed us out the door with what we brought them. I also have to mention that was in 2009, so the recession had hit. So LA was a ghost town. There wasn't anybody working. So we couldn't do that today as LA's booming, because we'd walk in with the minimums we were asking for at that time, which was like 50 pair, and we would have been walked out the building. But now, or at that time, I mean, people were desperate for work, so they were willing to take our 50-piece minimum. So that is kind of how we we did that. We went over there and started, knocked around and figured things out kind of the old fashioned way. We stayed in Malibu, on a beach in an RV, commuted into town, and just kind of became locals, if you will, for a few weeks while we learned the ins and outs of the industry. I think that in May or June, our first production run of like 50 men's pair, 50 women's pair was ready. So we did that all in a very short amount of time, from March till June. We created a style, which one of those styles was the Betty, which is our number one selling jean. Created a few sample pairs, created a small production run, had jeans, loaded up the motorhome, drove to a horse show, offered our jeans to the world. Our success story was in the making. We told the world our jeans existed, and the world slapped us in the face and promptly told us that they did not care. So there we are, jeans in hand, not a pot to pee in, and jeans that no one wants. That was really hard for us. So it wasn't as simple as creating a great product and taking it to the market. The market didn't care. They didn't care that we spent all of our hard efforts on this product that we'd been dreaming about. They just looked at us like, well, you guys have no experience. What gives you the right to tell us we need to try your jeans? So back to the drawing board we went. And we literally hit the road in an RV. I was pregnant at that time with our first child. We sold our jeans at swap meets. We sold them on the side of the road in a motorhome with a sign that said, "Come try jeans on."
Not creepy.
Looking back now, that's probably one of our creepiest moments, even though we thought it was so innocent. We drove to ranches where we didn't know anybody and asked them to buy our jeans. We went to horse shows. We went to like swap meets at the state fair. I mean, we went anywhere and everywhere where anybody was willing to look at our product. We started to figure out the world at that point, and then started finding markets to go to, which then started to help build the brand.
How did your family react at that time? I mean, that had to be a really trying time for you guys when you were in hustle mode. How did your family and friends react to what was going on?
Our family was amazing. Our family, I don't think, understood what we were doing, but they believed in us, and they knew that if we were passionate about it, we would achieve it. And they were amazing. They helped lend us money and helped get us on the road, and would then start taking care of our children. Our family was amazing. Our friends, Lindsay being one of them, was amazing. We have several that were right on board right off the bat, and then several that weren't, and it took time to convert them. Not having all of your friends on board when you first start is really kind of humbling, because it hurts, and then you have to have thick skin and act like it doesn't, and that they're entitled to their opinion when you really just want to tell them their opinion's wrong and they need to love what you're doing. But we've overcome all of those challenges. But then like I said, we had a handful of core people that believed in us right off the bat, and a lot of our team now are those people.
Awesome. So how long did it take, or what was the time frame where you guys were out on the road and you were inviting people to come in and try the denim? At what point did you say there's got to be a better way? Was it when you started to go to markets that things started to shift for you, or what happened next?
No, that didn't make it easier either, because now you're actually dealing with retailers, and they have certain expectations that we were unaware of, how the product should arrive, and that your tagging should always match, and that, their variance in washes between runs was not acceptable. And, being out of stock for months on end wasn't a good thing. So no, that made it harder. I don't think things got easier until our relaunch in 2014, when we were able to start having a team around us, because Matt and I were just doing it all and making it up as we went. We learned a lot of very valuable lessons the very, very hard way, which I think was good in the long run, but really hard in the short term. But those first years as Longhorn Jean Company were very, very challenging. We we weren't making money. And even though the jeans were selling, they were selling in such small quantities at that time that, that was hard. I will say this, though, that there was this moment for us where we took the jeans to the horse world. The horse world kind of turned their back and we pulled them away. But then we would strategically place them on influencers. And probably in 2012, we started hearing demand. And that's when we really started setting up these great booths and going hard to horse shows, specifically AQHA events. And then we started to push, for us, at that time a significant amount of volume out. And that's where it started to become easier because people were very receptive and excited, seeing their friends wear them, seeing all their other influencers wear them, and then wanting to wear them. So that's, I think once you get them on the right people and then they become cool, if you will, that's where things started to become easier.
So what happened right before 2014? What pushed you then to make the rebrand and the relaunch and turn into Kimes?
We had a little bit of a hiccup there. We had just some partners that came in and they weren't a right fit for us. And then to get the brand back, there was just some litigation and things like that went on. So 13 was just a year where we were just unable to work. And that was crushing because we weren't sure if we were going to get the brand back. And, years for us at that time, it was like losing, your baby, not in the sense that we all have children. And I understand that, of course, but, something that you worked that hard for. It was a very emotional time. Luckily we were able to get the brand back. And then when we relaunched in 14 and Lindsay came on board, that's really when things started taking off and moving fast. And I think that looking back where it's not so raw, I can say that year hiatus probably helped us because we were getting this strong foothold in demand and then we took it away. So it's like taking a drug away and then nobody could get it. And then when we relaunched in 14, I think people were just so happy that we were back that it really kind of started to escalate us to that next level.
Awesome, man. So when you relaunched, did you go right back to the horse shows that you were having that demand in right away? Or did you go back to wholesale markets as well? Or how did that launch go?
When we first relaunched, we went straight back to horse shows and straight back to the few retailers we had before we stopped in 13. So we went right back to the customer that was asking for it. They were excited. They were happy. There was no questions asked. They welcomed us back with open arms, which we were also very grateful for and lucky for because sometimes being gone for that long can harm you.
So let's talk about the size of Kimes today, because I want people to kind of get a picture, an idea of how fast you guys have grown and what's happened since this rebrand. So let's talk about production facility where you're at today, staff, how that's growing, and just that percentage of growth year over year so people get that idea.
So when we came back in 2014, we had myself, my husband, Matt, and Lindsay. Lindsay was just working a few days a week. And we still keep all of Kimes on our ranch in Scottsdale, Arizona. So keep that in mind. So my husband's previous business, we had like a modular that everybody worked out of for that business. Well, when we came back in 2014, it was just his dad in here. So we jumped right back into the modular, which is where we all are now. Now we had 3 people at that time, and it's about a 1,500 square foot modular. Yeah, give or take. It's 3 bedroom, 2 little baths, a kitchen. Like it's a double wide in its true form. Now we have let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 10 of us in here on any given day. Plus there's 4 people out in the warehouse, and then a series of road reps. Now, when we first started, the back office, which is now my husband's office / sample room, was our actual warehouse. We had racks in there and all of our jeans fit in one 400 by 400 room.
I don't even think it's that big. It's like 250 square feet.
It's tiny. So all our jeans fit in there. We were so proud when we had, lots of jeans in there. So then we had a third-party warehousing for just a moment. And then we brought all the product back here. And then we had these Connexes, these shipping container on property that we already owned that had just memories in it, is what we call them. So we cleared out the memories and put in racks. And so then all of our jeans fit into one shipping container with a man door in it, with no AC, with one light and a computer. And that's how Matt and I shipped every day. Then it turned into 2 shipping containers. Then it turned into a roof over 2 shipping containers. And we just built and started using last August a 50 by 50 building on site. We kept the 2 old shipping containers with the roof over them. And I think currently we can house anywhere, just denim, from 16 to 22,000 units of denim at any given time. I think on hand, there's 13,000 caps in stock today. That doesn't include all the tees, fleece, outerwear, etc. That wonderful building that we put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into last August was supposed to last us for 2 years. I was told yesterday by my father, who's also our warehouse manager, that we have no more room. because all the shipping containers are full. The mobile warehouse, which is our semi, which many of you have seen on Facebook, is no longer a mobile warehouse. It is stuffed. And when I mean stuffed, it looks like one of those hoarder's closets where you open it and stuff falls out
explodes.
Of just boxes. Now, we know where everything is, and it's all semi-organized. It's just literally stuffed to the gills. So we have outgrown our new facility. Mind you, we're all still living in the same double wide. So,
which each bedroom is an office, and then what would be a dining room is the sales table, and what would be the living room is the marketing area with all open concept giant tables that we all sit at together.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. And this goes right into what we were visiting about before we started recording the show. I think people's perceptions of growing and scaling a successful company like yours, I think sometimes people think it has to be so pretty and so perfect, and you build this big, mighty, beautiful, perfect warehouse with great lighting and all of this. But really, like you said, sometimes growth is just a shit show. You just do what you can with what you have and you make it happen, right?
Well, yeah, and you want to keep your costs down. So for us, staying at the keeps our costs down, moving somewhere and having to pay the rent for what we actually need. Mm-hmm. Is chaos. We're lucky that where we are
it'd be astronomical given that we're in Scottsdale.
Yeah. So it's just, and then there's this too, Trish, who many of you have met, she staffs our booth going down the road and fits most of you. She still has horses out here, and Lindsay and Garrett bring their dogs out, and it's, Lindsay never gets dressed. I don't know if y'all know that, but she lives in like pajama pants.
She's like one of the most fashionable people that we know. That's hilarious.
She's so calling me out right now. I wear comfortable, stretchy pants. Okay? Not pajama pants, stretchy pants.
But
there's a complete difference.
But if we moved, we would have to wear clothes to work.
I'm fully wearing jeans today, and I did my hair. So
there's, moving comes with its own price to pay. So it doesn't always seem glamorous. So,
yeah.
But we also get opportunities like we have Taco Tuesday here where Dougie, one of our sales guys, lives next to the most amazing taqueria, and he brings in this amazing meat that he grills up, and we do Taco Tuesdays. We do Barbecue Wednesdays where we have a grill on our porch right here at the Double Wide, and we grill brats and hang out.
I mean, we're also a good 20 minutes from any food source. So if we don't bring food or make it here, you pretty much just go on a diet for the day.
Perfect. That's a team retention strategy right there as you scale. So let's talk about marketing and brand and kind of how this scale has taken off. And when I say overnight success, 5 years in the making, I think we were all talking about this at the NFR together about how you started in the horse show world. And you guys have moved multiple genres. You're now in the rodeo world and have blown up in the rodeo world. What's it been like to find that ideal customer in each of those new markets as you've continued to grow and scale?
I would say extremely exciting for us. So I guess in 2014 when I started with Matt and Amanda, and we had a very like classic, clean product, and that's always and will always be, the essential image of Kynes Ranch is, that crisp and sophisticated take on denim. But when we started at that point, obviously that was a really nice fit for, that AQHA performance horse customer, less rodeo, right? And our perception of rodeo at that time, we both come from showing quarter horses. So, that's our foundation. We know what that industry looks like. It's very apparent, what they wear. That environment to us is second nature. So for us creating, those initial products to cater to that customer was easy, right? And the products that we created at the time fit very well for that. And then we had this breaking into that industry and people are loving us. We're taking market share in the performance horse industry. And we know that is a tiny, tiny, tiny portion of what is Western in the United States and in the world, right? Having that market share is exciting and, it's giving us this foundation. And we're looking at rodeo and we're going, does that really work for us? Is that a market that we actually cross over into? And we didn't do anything to change the brand by moving over into, that rodeo. I think what happened is just amazing circumstance, is what we were creating and what rodeo was becoming, bringing on influencers who took on more of a mainstream fashion into their wardrobes, gave us less of what we used to call like trade show chic, was something that we thought we would never fit into, for that rodeo customer. And then, as we started to grow and as the rodeo industry and the influencers started to, modernize their style, is how I would put it, that seemed to start to match up with what we were creating and what we wanted to be and where we wanted to go. Now to make our transition from Performance Horse, what I did on the marketing end was really focus on the overlap. So those customers to us were ropers and barrel racers, because those showed in AQHA and at Performance Horse shows. So they were seeing our product already, but then they were going to their weekend rodeos and barrel races, with the knowledge of our product. So our marketing then, instead of, just scattering dollars all over and trying to, hope something sticks, we really focused in on that group, because we knew we were already hitting them on one end. So then if we could kind of, focus directly on them, then they would move into their rodeo side, and then we could start eventually moving dollars over to that rodeo side for marketing.
So did that look like print media? Did it look like Facebook ads, sponsorships, endorsements? Specifically, like what strategies did you use to speak to team ropers and barrel racers when you did that?
So we did a lot of everything. We did a lot of focus on, we did some print ads. We took on some indoor sees and some influencers. I think a big portion was, our fashion influencers, and really kind of getting product in their hands, and really validating that our look was what they were looking for, by seeing it on those pivotal people that, that the rodeo side is watching, having our product on those people and them going, oh, okay, well, I've kind of seen that here, and now I'm seeing it on, my favorite influencer. Well, then that relates to them and they go, oh, okay, well, maybe that's something I want too. So yes, we did some print to like back it up. I don't think that the print was converting, but I think that's, that's just building brand awareness, right? A lot of it was, we did a huge focus on Facebook ads, and I'm glad we did it early, because, that was, I think, pivotal in our growth of market share in the beginning, because, when Facebook ads, in 2014 and 2015 were a lot cheaper than they are nowadays. So, to get a conversion, was a lot less than it is now for us. But it allowed us to like really grow that market share quickly, and affordably. So, we didn't have to put a lot of money towards it to get a huge gain. And then I think just in combination, we were doing all those things at once, kind of hitting them from every end, so that we were really felt like we were everywhere, even though, we were really only where they could see us. So those ropers and barrel racers. So we kind of tried to just come at them from all angles.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your Facebook ads for just a second, because I know there's going to be a lot of people listening, whether they are wholesale brands, designers themselves, or boutique owners that we have listening. Everyone's talking about Facebook ads, and it's something that we coach on quite a bit within the Boutique Hub as well. I'd love to know specifically, what are some of your favorite ads to run? And how many ads do you have running at any given time? I'd love to hear kind of some of your strategy behind it.
Well, I mean, that changes all the time, obviously. Budgeting changes all the time, just depending on what we're doing, what we're launching, if we have new products. I do focus right now. Initially, I'm self-taught on Facebook ads. So initially in like 2014, when I was just learning, I mean, I was just kind of going for clicks, right? I'm just like putting money on there and trying to get likes and clicks. That's all I wanted. I wanted to grow our Facebook page and, have people like it and, just kind of put ads in front of people. And at that point, our website was quite primitive. They didn't even, I don't know if they had the pixel, but I wasn't using it. So I didn't even know what the conversions were. I just knew, but we were small enough at that time that I knew if I was running an ad, we were selling more stuff. So that was kind of my initial look. Now, 4 years later, I'm a lot more strategic in that. I do some, which I find are, one that started as a redirect ad for our flagship product, the Betty jean. So I run this ad, and I mean, I hope somebody uses this and it's as successful for them as it has been for us, but it's quite simple. So initially I put it as it was anyone who had gone to our Betty page and had not been to our checkout page, right? So you can create your custom audiences based on they have been to this URL, but they have not been to this URL. And that was working pretty good. And I use, my copy is kind of like, this is our bestseller. This jean is magic. It fits and flatters all types, which it does. I mean, these are all kind of why it's our bestseller. And it has a little fun video on Betty. And I usually find videos aren't as good for me as far as conversions. But for this ad, it seems to work. Then I took off the has not been to the thank you page and started running it just as have you been to the Betty page. I think I set it at like $1 a day, maybe it's at $5 now. But my conversion rate on this ad is $1.50. So that's my cost per conversion, which is so unheard of right now. Any other
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Right? So, I mean, like this ad is just, it pays out like a slot machine. I mean, if the house didn't always win on slot machines. It's seriously, I just leave that running constantly.
If you can get under $5 for cost per conversion, that's pretty amazing.
So for us, I think what benefited of taking off the thank you page is that people reorder the Betty. It's one of those jeans that you can have in your closet, and then when you wear it out, you want another one, or you want a couple pair because you're going to wear them all week. So for us taking off that, it's been, they've purchased it already, because some of these people are, frequent buyers of the Betty, and they just want to be reminded, oh, I should probably buy another couple pair. But for a boutique customer, maybe it's a shirt, their best-selling shirt or something like that, and they can relate it to that. And then, someone's going to go, you know what, I really love that shirt, and still click on the ad, still go through and still buy something else. So I don't know why, but that seems to be, a really good asset right now. For other ads, I mean, I run, based on conversion for the most part. I always make sure that my cost per purchase is much, is a lower percentage of, that I'm not eating into my profit, right? So that, say the cost of my product is, 25% of, of the total price of my good. Well, then I want to make sure that, say that good is $100, trying to, lay this out. So $100 purchase, I have to make sure that, the cost of my ad is always going to be, in the $20 to $25 range. That's how I, so that I'm making 50% on that product every sale.
Absolutely. So go looking at your ratio, like 2 to 1, 3 to 1, that sort of thing. If I put in $1, I get back 2. How about how are you layering that, like your ad strategy around big events that you guys are going to? Like if you say the NFR, we'll use that as an example because you guys had multiple locations, distribution points during the NFR. What's your ad strategy look like around a big event?
So I do run ads, we're all dealing with that algorithm right now, taking away our organic reach. And so I do run ads just to inform. Here comes NFR. I usually target my audience to a lookalike audience of people who have purchased from our site. I find that tends to pay out best. And it depends, if I'm trying to kind of cultivate new business or new market share, I might interest target a little bit, based on like disciplines. So, roping, barrel racing, cow horse, AQHA, things like that. I might do an interest target ad for that. And then depending on what it is, if NFR, we have booths, location targeting, obviously, within a range of where that's going to be in Las Vegas. And then, anyone who's visiting or anyone that's in that location. So, if they're looking at their Facebook while they're, in Las Vegas, then they'll go to that location, or they'll see it while they're in town, and potentially go and visit one of our booths. So yeah, I do run ads like that. I always try and make them pay for themselves. So I'm always watching the conversions on them as well, to if there's been any purchases through that ad. And, that helps me if I'm like, oh, okay, well, that ad's paid for itself. I can boost it a little bit more because I'm basically having no out of pocket, to run that ad. So, I try and be strategic like that.
Absolutely. One more thing I want to chat about kind of on that note is when you go to your guys' homepage, you guys have done a really great job with the blog and clearly the SEO that backs that blog up, right? So part of it, as I read your blog, is kind of going back to that strategy of using endorsers and giving your customers kind of a look into, or endorsees, giving your customers a look into the lifestyle of some of the endorsees that you guys work with. Can you talk kind of about the blog and how you guys approach that strategy?
Yeah. So, obviously, we come from a difficult position because, to do a fashion blog, we want to have like freedom of expression for, our influencers or what have you to talk about other products. We don't need it to be like, Kimes Ranch running down your throat. We would like to have like an open expression of what is, Western fashion and what you think is applicable. And so we've used influencers in this regard to give their perspective on fashion, and to bring that in, and for endorsees as well. So sometimes we'll have, endorsees just, interviewed by what we have is like some blogging interns that we use. So, we get some from the universities and things like that, who are looking for internships. And then we have them reach out to our team of endorsees, and try and find like unique moments that are interesting, not just like the, hey, here's so-and-so, they're from wherever, they're this kind of horse trainer, da, 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 da. That's stuff anyone knows. I try and look for like more interesting stories about them that we can capture, and that, one, show kind of why they're a part of the Kimes Ranch family, because that's really important to us, is our essence of family. Kimes Ranch was built on family. We're still on the ranch. And so all of those things are really like part of what we, hold dear. And so we've chosen our industries, based on that type of character and quality. And, so we feel that they have something that's unique, and that people will find unique. And so we tell those stories to kind of inform and to build our culture, more more so than anything. And then, if somebody reads that article, loves what we're about, and happens to, click through to purchase something, I mean, great, that's a bonus. But in the end, it's that 80-20 rule. We'd like to put out 80% of our content that is not selling to you, is just, telling the story and building an environment that means more than just, our product. Our product is great and we're proud of that, but we're proud of so much more at Kimes Reg. I mean, there's so much essence to what we do and feel. And a lot of that, I think, is kind of why we've been successful, is because, people can see that in our branding and our marketing, and see that there's more than just, we're just trying to sell you a product.
Yeah.
We're trying to build a culture and a community.
I love that. And you guys have done such a great job at that. I look at it both from the angle of, the man on the ranch, or the man in performance horse industry on that angle, but also kind of going back to that woman in that high fashion angle. I'm even thinking about, your collaborations with, say, Livewire, and how Megan's taken some of your pieces and put like a unique high fashion spin on them. Just your openness to collaborate with people like that and put your stamp on what you think Western fashion is today. That's very unique. Not a lot of people have done that, right?
Well, I think a lot of people are so protective about, it has to be their way, and you can't take their product and make it different. Well, why not? Megan has a unique take that is something that Kimes Ranch, coming from our classic feel, we would never be able to do what Megan does. I mean, yes, we can, but it's not really what we're about. And Megan does it so well, so why not let her escalate, our great foundation, which is, our great fitting product, and make it something totally different. We love that in the respect that, it only gains us more market by having other people see our product in a way that maybe they wouldn't have before. And maybe that's their jam. They love just what Megan does with our product. That's fine. So we're not trying to be everything to everyone. We are what we are. And, and we're really happy to kind of allow artists to do their art. And that's really what Megan does. And some of that comes from, I had a reworked vintage Western wear line like back in 2006, before reworking was even, a thing. And, so that's, I guess, something that I see in her, and I'm like, well, that's great, So, we love to collaborate, and really it's, I think you said the quote of, rising tide lifts all boats, right? We're in this together, and it is really, collaboration over competition. And so, the more that we can do with other brands and build together and kind of enjoy this ride together is super exciting for us.
Oh man, I just want a mic drop right there, because our whole motto at the Boutique Hub is community over competition. And that's exactly what you just described. So amen to that. I have to ask you guys both this question though, because we're speaking about fashion, right? And that's kind of the core of what we all do and what we love. When you're not wearing stretchy pants, either of you, I want to know what are the favorite like must-have pieces that are in your closet personally, because I'm thinking about Lindsay wearing the red hat at the Western Summit on stage. Like, it's always statement pieces with you. So I want to hear both of your takes on your favorite fashion pieces right now.
So we're very different. I don't think we ever do anything alike at all.
Yeah, no, I think we're pretty much opposite in like all respects of being human, to be honest, which is why it works.
I will say I'm wearing it today, and this is one piece we do agree on. It's one of our own pieces, actually. It's a men's piece that we launched in the fall. It's called the Bison Flannel, and it's a men's flannel shirt. And I think I've lived in this for like the past 2 months after I saw Lindsay rocking it so well. And I think that it is just a really great piece to rock and to kind of put a street spin on any of your Western pieces. I think our fashion for both of us changes based on what we're doing, what we're attending, and kind of what we're feeling.
Yeah, I always go for that, one key piece. Like I'm pretty like, I guess, I think if you're going to go for a big hat, then the rest of what you're doing should be pretty simplistic, and to make that one piece pop. That's always been my thing. Have that like one thing, whether it's like a flashy pair of heels or, a big hat or something. Like I make, tone down the rest of what I'm wearing and make it very like monochromatic or whatever. I like black. It's my favorite color.
No, you like gray and dark gray.
And and sometimes white. But that's only come because I moved to Arizona, and you can't wear black when it's 110 degrees. But otherwise it would be my staple color of every day. So, I like to keep basic, my shirt and jeans simplistic if I'm going to go with the big bold hat, or if I'm going to go with a really crazy pair of like heels or shoes or, boots or something like that. Then I like it to be like, oh, look at those boots, or look at that hat. It has to be, for me, I don't wear, three pieces that could be that essential key piece at the same time.
Yeah. Don't let them fight with each other, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's basically my, motto for dressing, for anything. But I love to have fun with fashion. I mean, it's been a key part of my life, for a majority of my life. I remember when I was a kid and, my parents took me to London, and I came back from London. And this would have been, I guess I was in grade 11. And, I bought these like white diesel pants that were like skin tight and bell bottomed, like huge bell bottom, and a pair of 4.5-inch platform, like mules where you like step into them, but then they looked like sneakers on the top. And I mean, like I think I've saved them. I think they're in my tickle trunk, which
that's such a,
okay. We fight about the tickle trunk. Tickle trunk in Canada, Canadians, tickle trunk. Mr. Dress Up, who was like a child star, like it's a children's show, had like his dress up trunk was called a tickle trunk. So
you know what? This goes right along with selling denim out of an RV on the side of the road and getting people to stop and try it on.
So we both had fully like awkward moments where we looked creepy. Okay. I feel you. I will hold back on the tickle trunk.
So is this where you keep all like your favorite vintage pieces?
Yes. So I store, all those kind of like key pieces that, and they have moments where, they'll make an appearance. I have another platform pair that I bought in Montreal in like 1999, and they make an appearance too once in a while. And I mean, they are ridiculous, but there's a time for them. And so, once in a while I pull out these key pieces from the tickle trunk. So
I like it.
You'll see them.
All good fashion makes a return, right?
Right.
Yes. Hey, let's talk about the wholesale industry today, because you guys were talking about earlier with Longhorn and getting into wholesale back then. And as we were all together at the Western Summit this January, a lot of the conversation there was just about how the wholesale side of business is changing and evolving so fast with, in-person apparel markets versus online sales and these things. I'd love to hear kind of your take on that market today and where you see wholesale going in the future.
Oh, I think that's $1 million question. I think that everybody's, like you said, everybody's talking about it. I think that the way the entire world is purchasing is evolving. Whether you're buying from Amazon or you're going direct and buying on your phone, or you still visit your favorite boutique, or you're a boutique owner looking to buy product for your store, how the world is purchasing is changing so very fast. In-person markets, Dallas market, the WISA market, I think they're struggling. I personally think that they're struggling. I think that for someone to have the expense of missing work and flying to a market, Granted, all of their favorite vendors are in one spot showing them the line, but it's expensive. It's expensive. You've got to rent a car. You've got to get a room. You've got to pay for food. You've got to bring in all your buyers, whether you have 1 or 2 or 5. And you have to go in and commit to these stores. It's just as efficient anymore with most brands. They have amazing websites. You can go and view everything you need online and place an order via email. So I think that the way that the wholesale market is buying is changing, and it's changing fast. And I don't believe that Western is keeping up with it. That might irritate some people. But I say that because I truly believe this goes back to our comment earlier about collaborating and working together. I believe that as Western retailers as a whole, and I mean myself as a wholesale supplier, we need to all find ways to work together to figure out how we can all better help our vendors who are trying to purchase from us. What that is, we have a couple ideas here at Kimes Ranch on what we think we could do to help aid that and help it grow. But I think that it's got to be an open dialogue with even competitor brands. I'm not afraid to talk to other denim companies and figure out what we can do to all help, our favorite boutiques or even our large box retailers. I think that something has to change. I think something needs to change. I think that the in-person markets are a dying art. They're probably going to disagree with me over that, and that's fair. But I don't think that they're as beneficial as they were 15, 12 years ago.
What do you think is one thing, other brands, other wholesalers who are listening to this today, what do you think is an action item that as an industry could be taken, maybe just within their own individual companies, I guess, to continue that collaborative effect, or, to work together to help grow the industry as a whole, to build the community?
Do you mean coming from like how to kind of like save the in-person market, or how to innovate by, becoming more online?
I think I don't know about when you say save the in-person market. I think that there's always going to be a time and place for an in-person market with several different types of brands, right? Because there always has to be some kind of element to touch and feel and to build relationships. But is it going to be as frequent as it is today? Probably not in the future. So how do we make the industry stronger, right, with the infrastructure that's there now? What do you think that looks like?
I know something Lindsay and I spoke about at this year's market after your summit, actually, having a little more, it's not just product. I feel like as if you're a new boutique and you go to Denver Weiss as an example, you are bombarded and it's overwhelming. And if you're new, you're not even off the ground yet, and you're trying to spend a ton of money on products in your store. And then if you don't have a guidance, then now what? I've got product in my store, and how do I help sell it? So having more educational summits as you threw, I think that was incredibly beneficial, because you talked about things that I was there listening. These boutique owners, they're just thirsty for knowledge on how to use, Facebook and social media and all of that. So if you wanted, in my opinion, if brands would collaborate and not be afraid of one another, and we do Denim 101, things to help fit your customer better. If companies could explain how to wash your caps and make them last better. If marketing directors from all brands could come together and talk about key points. And then on that same note, if we, the wholesaler, would listen to the boutique's needs and not just preach to them, because they're going to come to us with what they're seeing out in the world. And I don't think that all wholesalers want to listen to that necessarily. So I think that there's got to be a lot more open communication and open education to help make it all work. To keep the whole industry growing and thriving. Western is hot right now in the entire world as far as fashion goes. And if everyone could get on that and help exploit it, we could grow it. It's so large and wonderful. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities there if everyone was really willing to work together.
Creating more of an experience and environment than just the selling. Everything we do in marketing is trying to build culture, trying to, not all sales. Why is it that market is heavy hitting all sales when, people need that kind of environment to, that you bring with the education element and, networking, events, and to be able to make it more of like a holistic approach to running your business, so that it's not just like, oh, you're going just to buy, because now that's not really a necessity. Buy entirely online. So unless there's some other things that are pulling you to come to market, other things like education, meeting people, collaboration, new contacts, all of that in one place, I mean, then yes, I feel like there will be maybe even more, maybe more on a smaller scale, but more place for people to come and be educated and have an environment where they're doing more than just buying, I guess.
I love it. My wheels are turning as you guys are speaking about this, because I think this is just the beginning, like you said. I mean, having the Western Summit, and then we have our big boutique summit in June in Dallas. That is just the beginning, and it is exactly what you're talking about. But I think we can even replicate that experience and bring it even more online. So we'll have to talk more about that after the podcast, but some good collaborations in the future for sure. So let's talk about something we kind of talked about before we got on this podcast, kind of moving away from wholesale and back into what's happening inside of the company. So many people who are listening are in hustle mode. They're trying to build their business, they're trying to scale their company, but they're also trying to find this elusive creature called balance. And some people say balance doesn't exist. And I mean, I'm a mom, you guys are both moms, and you've got your families at home and all these things happening. You still want to have a hobby. You still want to have your horses. What does that look like for you guys to maintain healthy relationships at home, plus build this business?
Wine. It looks like wine.
Insanity. There's lots of things. Amanda does it better than I do. She has like workout appointments that she does, so she makes sure she has like balance there. I don't. But no, the struggle is real. And for me, my main thing is being present when I'm with my kids. They can feel it when you're half paying attention to them, and when you're answering an email, or if I'm frustrated about something with work, they read that all over you. With my kids, it's a direct acting out, knowing that you're not paying attention, or you're not being present, or they're not getting the nurturing that they need at that moment. And so instead of allowing that to happen, really trying to be present, like setting my phone down when I get home and, making sure I'm asking about their day, and that we're having our moments together and playing, and then I can readdress issues or things that I need to deal with after they're in bed. They deserve that time. We spend a lot of time in the office, and so when I am there, they deserve me to be present with them. So it's hard, but work will be there in 6 hours when they're asleep, and that's just really important.
I think it's also about having help. Lindsay made a comment about my balance. Well, that's an unfair statement, meaning that I can say I have balance. I have an extreme amount of help around me. So my balance is probably easier to come by because of that. So I'm very fortunate that I know how much help I have. I live on our ranch with 2 sets of in-laws. I do have a live-in au pair who's amazing. I have someone that helps clean my house. I do have a very attentive husband because he's in here with me all day. So we don't both get to go home and think one did more than the other on that day. We both, are very active at the helm. We have someone that helps take care of our yard. So I have a ton of help being on the ranch. So for me, coming by a balance is sometimes easier. If you don't have a lot of help, man, that is a struggle. I think that's where you rely on your friends, and you rely on that bottle of wine, and you rely on those girls' nights, and you rely on whatever you can to find your sanity because, I know Lindsay doesn't have family here like I do, and I see her struggle with childcare and when her kid's sick and all that. And my heart just breaks because that's something I don't have to deal with. And knowing that she has to deal with all that, it's just a whole nother level of balance. So For those of you at home listening that are wondering where the balance comes from, it's just finding your little wins, I guess, is what I would say. Find your little wins throughout the day and try to get your moments break. And don't be afraid to take time off. It's okay to have a day for yourself, or where you're not with your husband or your kid. I'm saying that as none of us do that, but I think that really is
I think that would be beneficial.
I think that that's key. I mean, you have to, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're in no position to take care of anyone else.
Amanda always has like a very hard rule because we are friends outside of work. And so we're always in the same social circle, and there is absolutely no discussing work on weekends or in social settings. So, which is really great. I mean, it's part of the reason that we can, maintain sanity and still be
Her
friends.
and Matt don't have that rule. So if we're all out and they start to, I will leave. I walk away from group discussions. Everyone's like, why is Matt? Like, she just won't talk about this. I'm like, it's Saturday.
Yeah. So she does a really good job of like making us kind of maintain sanity by, leaving work at work sometimes. So that's
Man, good for you. That's so important. And I want to go back to what you said too about if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else or the company. I was at a conference last week, and I think the best way they described that very thing back to us was when you're on an airplane and they tell you have to put on your oxygen mask before you put on anyone else's. Right? That's because you're going to die if you don't. And then so is the person next to you. So such good advice. If there's someone listening who's in that moment or wanting to be in that moment where you're at, really, building a successful company and scaling, what do you think? There's moments of, oh crap, and there's huge moments of celebration. What's the one thing you think people should focus on as they're in that moment of scale and they're trying to get more help around them? What's that area of focus you think that's top of list?
Wow. It really depends for each person, because I feel like what makes you successful is what you're best at. Where you put your passion is what's going to make your company thrive. So I guess the best thing is self-assessing and looking at, what is my strength, and then hiring great people or around you that don't have
your strengths,
that can fill the void where you need it. And really pushing forward on what you're good at, because that's going to be your best asset.
That's great advice. That's perfect. All right. Couple of quick lightning round questions for you. You ready?
Ready.
Ooh,
all right. Favorite books or podcasts?
Okay. Well, I read a lot of books, and I just finished Ask Gary V, obviously. The one book that I always go back to, and I don't know why this book resonates so well with me. I think it's like, that creative person in all of us. I think if you're in this industry, you have that creative vibe within you, is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And I've only ever listened to the audiobook on it, and she reads it herself. And for some reason, whenever I need that, just like that little push, or, I have anxiety about something and I just need to know, to like follow your passion and to like, do what you love and love what you do. I read that or I listen to it, and she does such a great job of narrating it, I guess. And I just find that that's my go-to inspiration book. She's the one who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. So people may know her from that, but that's just like my get into your creative zone and do it book.
Great one.
Right. Are you waiting for a response from me?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I don't have a podcast or a book. I'm going to say something, so just bear with me. I am fascinated, and I have been for some time, with monarchies throughout time, whether it's 12th century, 13th century, and I love learning about them via television, because I am not a huge reader. I can say that. And what I like about them is it's fascinating to me how monarchies are run. And it puts my life in perspective. When I think I can't handle it anymore, I think about how these monarchies had to behead people for treason. I don't have worries like that on my plate. Okay. Denim isn't life or death. So what it does for me is it just allows me a moment of fresh air to think that my problems probably are not as great as what some of these people actually had to go through. So.
That's very good. I'm with you on that one. All right. Favorite vacation spot when you do get time away?
Oh, when we get time away.
A spa. A spa for me, a girl day at the spa is always something that I need, and it's good for my soul.
See, for me, as like cultural travel, that's what makes me, do what beheading does for you.
Lack of beheading.
Going somewhere that gives you perspective on your reality, for me is always something great, whether, that's traveling. I mean, I've been to lots of parts of the world, but I find, Asia and Africa really give you perspective on culture, but going anywhere that has, anywhere in Europe, anything like that gives you cultural perspective, that shows you that, your reality is not the only way, that your perspective on life is not the only perspective. So it's just really nice to get out of your world for a moment and see it from another view. And then you can come back refreshed knowing that, your world troubles, your, anxieties, the things that plague you each day are not the only thing in the world.
I could give you some great shows for that. You don't have to your comfort of your own bed.
Netflix binges. I hear you. I think that's so true, though. Don't you feel like, though, as you go, I get what you're saying, Lindsay. I love to travel, too, kind of for that same reason. Not that I've been to many great places around the world, but even places in the U.S. that you go and you get a new perspective on culture, right? I think as you go, like even building this business, too, and as you reach different levels of the business, it gives you a new perspective on the world around you. As you begin to hire team and have team fill roles and you understand the dynamic backgrounds that they came from, then your perception on money or leadership, like all these things change, don't they? Right. Okay, next question. What scares you the most? Snakes, taxes, payroll, or internet trolls?
Oh, I have to say internet trolls. Just because I get so emotional about them, and I try not to, but they really rattle me. So we had one just recently, and I mean, for no good reason. Like, it was really like his tag was cut on his jeans, and it was, all of a sudden he was calling out Matt that the quality of these jeans, Matt Kimes, needs to call me personally. I mean, he just ranted, and he got me so rattled. And I called him personally and talked to him, and I thought I had, talked him off the ledge, and he continued. And, I guess I believe in what we do so much that I take it very personal when people don't give us the opportunity to make things right, because we always do. That's like the one thing that we focus on is, making sure our customers are happy and making sure that they love, their products and that we do right by them. And we, I would say all the time do. And so when they come at us just trolling, it just, it really affects me, and I can't let it go. Like, I'm not good at just, I try to understand, and I'm like, well, why would someone be like that? Because I just don't have that in me to be malicious to someone or make them feel bad. So I really have to work through those.
A lot of people are probably head nodding listening to you right now. Totally agreeing.
Just wears me out.
Yes.
She worries enough for the both of us.
It's like, oh man, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
I'd say internet trolls bother me as well, but like I said, Lindsay will really take that that wagon and run off without me. So she handles the worry for me, so I don't really need to. I know that she has it under control. Payroll and taxes, I think that's just something that's always unnerving. It's always lingering. Payroll's always there. Taxes are always there. Taxes never feel complete, even though if they are, they come around next year. I think that stuff's just unnerving. And snakes are just awful. I mean, come on, that's just there for the taking. Snakes, obviously, snakes are awful.
That's why I live in Wisconsin, you guys. You don't have to worry about that, right?
I have one in my house.
You have one in your house, or you had one in your house?
I had a rattlesnake in my home.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
What did you do? How'd you get it out?
Matt took care of it, but it was like at night we noticed we had to like get up and check on the kids. It was in a dark hallway and it like started rattling at us.
Oh.
Sleep for like a week.
You're going to give me nightmares and everyone else listening.
Horrifying. It just came in. It was beautiful. And this time of year is beautiful. You leave your doors open and it just came in the house and we didn't know about it until after we'd closed all the doors.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, that's unnerving. Thank you for sharing. All right. Before we wrap up our time together, I want to just ask you both one last piece of advice for any entrepreneurs that are listening today. Just kind of one key takeaway that you'd love them to leave with.
Work with people you enjoy. They tell you not to hire your friends, and we did that. And I think that it's benefited us because if you can't be truthful with your friends and tell your friends exactly what you think, how else are you going to get along in life? So work with people you enjoy, despite if they're in that network of friends or not, and just make sure that you respect their private time.
I would say you do you. Follow your own path. Yes, there's competition out there, and you can consume yourself with watching the competition and trying to one up the competition. Focus on what you're good at and really, hone in on that, because that's one thing no one else has, and make that your greatness. And then, follow your own road to wherever it is that you want to go. And, don't look to your right or to your left and, see what your competitors are doing. It doesn't matter in the end. Mm-hmm. What matters is what you're doing and what's working for you.
You are so insightful today.
Oh, thanks.
Wow. You're just like, I'm nodding my head along with you. It's that matcha you're drinking. Wow.
She's right on. She's doing a lot of mic dropping. I like it.
Yesterday I was searching for words everywhere I went.
Wow, you just brought your A. Inspired.
Well, everybody drink matcha tea. Apparently it makes you brilliant.
Perfect. So before our last question, if anyone's listening, both retailers who are interested in carrying Kimes or general public who just wants to wear Kimes, how can everyone listening get in touch with you guys?
KimesRanch.com. Head to our website and you can find all the contacts you need as far as, reaching our wholesale side for, B2C, meaning direct customers. All our current products are up there. So you can search our new spring summer selection, which is super cute. We have a bunch of new fun, exciting things that, we're working on right now. So you can watch us on social media at Kimes Ranch Jeans on Facebook and Instagram. And we keep you up to date on kind of the inside scoop on what we're sampling and what we're making. And, we love our customer feedback. So, pop on there and tell us what you think. And, that kind of gives us a lot of market research into, what we make next and, what we create for you guys. It's exciting.
Awesome. Well, as we wrap up today, as I'm framing this question in mind, I have this picture of walking into your guys' showroom and seeing all of the Kimes Ranch caps that are in the showroom, right? This whole brand that's really taken off, right? And Amanda, you said something earlier about part of the reason you got started is because you and Matt thought a lot about Nike and you wanted to be the Nike swoosh. And it's very evident that that's something that you guys have done. Know it or not, you've created your own Nike swoosh and a brand that's very easily recognizable in this industry. So I want to commend you on that. So as we wrap up today, kind of the last question I want to ask you is, let's fast forward several years from now. And you guys have had your time with Kimes. Maybe you've had a grand exit and you've sold the business, or the business has gone on and taken a life of its own. And you guys are retired, right? You're sitting in Scottsdale on your porch, no rattlesnakes in sight, and you're drinking wine, and you've got your grandkids on your lap, and you're thinking about the business that you've created and the life that you've lived. What is the one thing, the one legacy that you feel like you really want to leave with this business and your lives as entrepreneurs? What is the thing that you want people to remember the most about who you are and what you guys have done?
Wow. I think that I always, it's not about leaving anything behind necessarily. It's just, I want to be known as a good person. I want to be someone that people tell stories to my children about meeting me, and I was just a good person, and that I did right by others. I did what I believed in. I was kind. I gave back, and I want to be someone that my children can be proud of.
Very good. Well, ladies, I want to thank you so much for spending your time with me today and for all that you guys are doing for this industry and for inspiring others who are listening to this podcast as well. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to run into you guys both in person soon.
Yes. Thank you for having us.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope that you loved it. If you did, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a rating and review down below for a chance to be one of our featured listeners each and every week. For more information on our spirit of community over competition and how to access complete show notes and bonus downloads from our guests, head on over to theboutiquehub.com and join the community. We'll see you next week. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope that you loved it. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a rating and review down below for a chance to be one of our featured listeners each and every week. More information on our spirit of community over competition and how to access complete show notes and bonus downloads from our guests, head over to theboutiquehub.com and join the